Alright, so today's tutorial is for the newly released Maverik Tactik 2.0. As you can see, it's a pretty killer looking mid to kind of mid-low pocket. It's going to be an absolute sniper. It's got a super tight channel that you will probably need to break in to get past some of the whip. But once that is done, once again, you're going to have a really sweet, accurate kind of mid-range pocket. And side note, if you guys enjoy these tutorial videos or find them helpful, be sure to throw us a like for the video and subscribe to the channel, as we will have more of these tutorial videos coming out soon. So before we begin the tutorial, you will need to do a 9-diamond top string on the second hole of the head. So once again, 9-diamond top string on the second hole of the head. All right, so we're going to start the tutorial on the third hole of the head. So I'm going to use this yellow string so that way you guys can see clearly. So we're going to start, I'm going to put my string through that third hole on the head. We're going to go up into that first available mesh loop. I'm going to go back into that same sidewall hole and up into that mesh loop once again. So it's just a basic tie-in loop or a loop start. And then just pull that tight. Now we're going to do an SI on the next mesh loop, so down to the top of the next mesh hole. We're going to go into the plastic from the outside, making sure to not skip any sidewall holes. I'm going to leave a small loop here. I'm going to bring my lining in and go through that loop. Pull my slack through. Not all the way though. Take my lining in and go from the bottom up of that same mesh loop. So straight up and then straight down, nice and tight. And there we have an SI. Okay, and next up, we're going to skip the next sidewall hole and do a KSI. So down to the top of that next available mesh loop. Into the plastic from the outside, making sure to skip one sidewall hole. We're going to leave a small loop. Just like that. Take your lining and string, go from the back and through of that sidewall loop. The string's going to cross over itself, kind of like a pretzel. And then from the inside, you're going to take your slack. Take your fingertips on your left hand and pinch the sidewall string to the plastic, and then take your lining and string and then pull straight down, nice and tight. And then it's going to leave a little knot there on top of the bottom rail. Take your lining and string, go from the bottom and up of that same mesh loop. And there we have a KSI. We're going to skip another sidewall hole and then do another KSI. So the same thing, once again, down to the top of the next mesh loop, into the plastic on the outside, leaving a small loop. Take your lining and string, go from the back and through of that loop. Once again, we should have that pretzel. Take your slack from the inside of the head. Pinch the sidewall string to the plastic, making sure the knot is resting on the bottom rail. And then take your lining and string and then pull straight down. And once again from the bottom and up. And then back down. And then there we have another KSI. Now we're going to skip another sidewall hole and once again do another KSI. So exact same thing. Down to the top. Into the plastic, making sure to skip one sidewall hole. Leave a small loop, going from the back and through that loop. Pull this string from the inside of the head. Take your fingertips, pinch it to the bottom rail, and then pull your lining and string straight down. Once again, we should have that knot resting on the bottom rail. And then lining and string goes up and through that same mesh loop. And then straight back down. And there we should have 4 or 3 KSIs. And that's going to help to define the channel. Now we're going to start to create the actual pocket on the head. So we're going to do 3 SIs. So down to the top of that next mesh loop. into the plastic from the outside, making sure to not skip any saddle holes. Take your string, go through this loop that you left. And then before you pull this tight, or pull it a little bit, and then pinch the middle of the mesh, pull it up towards the top of the scoop nice and tight, and then pull your lidding in outwards, up and then down. And then once again, we'll go from the bottom up of that same mesh loop and do the exact same thing. So upwards and then straight down. And that's gonna lock it in. We're gonna do that 2 more times. So down to the top of the next mesh loop, into the plastic on the outside, making sure to not skip any saddle holes. We're gonna pull your string through of this loop that you left. Pull it straight through. Pinch the middle of the mesh, pull it up towards the top of the scoop, pull your string outwards and then up and then down. And then from the bobbin and up of that same mesh loop, all the way through, and then once again, up and then down. We're down 1 more time, down to the top, into the plastic, through the loop, straight out, up, down, from the bottom and up of that same mesh loop, and then once again, up and down. So we're gonna have 3 KSIs following, or 3 SIs following that KSI, and that's gonna help to create the pocket. So you can see we already have some definition. As long as you pull the middle of the mesh and pull it towards the top of the scoop, you will see this definition. Now we're gonna go ahead and finish out the pocket. So we're going to skip the next saddle hole and do an SI. So down to the top of that next mesh loop, into the plastic from the outside, making sure to skip 1 saddle hole. We're gonna come through that loop, pull it outwards, pull the string up and down. And then while I'm pulling this, these last couple of knots, what you wanna do is take like 3 or 4 fingers, put them inside the pocket, like so, and then kind of grip it a little bit and then pull it up towards the scoop. It's easier if you try and stick your fingers through one of the mesh holes, so that way you get a better grip on it. And so that way you can pull the pocket up tighter. And so essentially it's gonna help to create definition in your pocket. So coming back to that SI, we just went outwards, so up and then down. From the bottom up that same mesh loop, we're once again go up and then down. Meanwhile, I'm also pulling the mesh upwards away from itself. So that's once again gonna help to create the definition. We're going to skip another saddle hole and then do once again another SI. So down to the top of the next mesh loop, into the plastic from the outside, make sure to skip 1 saddle hole, through the loop, outwards, up and then down. And then once again, from the bottom of that same loop, up and then down. And then now to finish out the pocket, we're going to and now to finish out the pocket, we're going to do an interlock. So we're going to go into we're going to skip 1 saddle hole and then go into the plastic from the outside. And then we're going to leave a small loop here. And then from the inside of the head, we're going to take our string, go up and through this next available mesh loop. Pull it a little bit, but not all the way. And then from the side, we're just taking our string, going through that loop. And before you pull this tight, once again, pinch the middle of the mesh, pull up towards the top of the scoop, nice and tight, with your fingers in the mesh. And then we're going to take your leading in string. You're going to go outwards and then up and then down, nice and tight. And then from the bottom, or from the ending of that, take your leading in string, go back and through that same mesh loop. And then from here, we're going to go out and through the last saddle hole in the head. So it's going to cross over itself like that. And then simply we're just going to pull this nice and tight and then tie it off. And we're done. Okay, and afterwards you just need to do the other side of the head, throw in a bottom string and maybe pound it out just a little bit. And you should have a pretty sweet looking kind of mid to mid low pocket, which is going to be fantastic for this head. So once again, it has that super tight channel. You will probably need to break this in to get past some of that whip. But once that is done, you should be left with a pretty killer pocket. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel for more content. As always, thank you for watching.